The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zethkara of the Vorthon Collective raised all four of her crystalline arms. The holographic display before the assembled delegates showed a blue-green world spinning peacefully in the void, its white clouds swirling over vast continents and deep oceans. To most species in the galaxy it appeared unremarkable, another primitive world orbiting a yellow dwarf star in the Outer Rim territories. Honored delegates, Zethkara's voice resonated through the chamber's translation matrix. We gather today to discuss a species that has recently achieved faster-than-light capability. The inhabitants of the third planet in what they call the Sol system have demonstrated concerning behaviors that warrant immediate intervention. The chamber erupted in clicking, chirping, and harmonized tones as representatives from dozens of species voiced their opinions. The Kalari Prime Minister, a towering insectoid being, tapped his mandibles together impatiently. Another aggressive species seeking to expand beyond their homeworld? How tiresome. What makes these humans different from the countless others we've guided or contained? Zethkara's crystalline form shimmered as she accessed the data files. That is precisely the issue, Prime Minister. These humans are unlike any species we have encountered in our 47,000 years of galactic civilization. Their behavioral patterns defy our understanding of evolutionary psychology and survival instincts. The holographic display shifted, showing footage captured by stealth observation drones. The images revealed humans in various situations, some engaged in warfare, others performing acts of selfless heroism, still others pursuing art and science with passionate dedication. The assembled delegates watched with growing unease as the footage continued. Observe their response to disaster, Zethkara continued. The display showed humans rushing into burning buildings to save strangers, forming human chains to rescue flood victims, and sharing their meager resources with those in need. No other species consistently risks individual survival for non-genetic relatives. Even the highly social hive minds of Kepler 442 prioritize genetic preservation above all else. Counselor Marenthu, of the Ethereal Collective, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental suit, pulsed with confusion. Perhaps they simply lack proper risk assessment capabilities. Evolutionary failures often exhibit such self-destructive tendencies. That was our initial hypothesis, Zethkara replied. However, further observation revealed something far more complex. The display now showed human scientists working tirelessly in laboratories, human engineers building massive structures, and human explorers venturing into dangerous territories. These same individuals who risk everything for others also demonstrate exceptional problem-solving, abilities, and technological advancement rates that exceed our most optimistic projections. The Silicate Republic's delegate, a massive rock-like being named Granite Who Speaks, rumbled his displeasure. Show us their weapons. All young species develop weapons first. We shall measure their threat level by their capacity for destruction. The holographic display shifted again, revealing humanity's nuclear weapons, their guided missiles, and their advanced military technology. Several delegates nodded their approval. This was familiar territory. But then the display continued, showing humans using those same destructive technologies for peaceful purposes. Nuclear power plants providing energy to cities, rockets carrying scientific instruments to distant planets, and advanced manufacturing creating medical devices to save lives. This is where their behavior becomes truly incomprehensible, Zethkara explained. They possess weapons capable of sterilizing their entire planet, yet they also use the same technology to heal their sick and explore their solar system. No other species in our records has demonstrated such duality. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For millennia, the Galactic Council had operated on the assumption that intelligent species followed predictable patterns. Aggressive species conquered and consumed until they destroyed themselves or were contained. Peaceful species advanced slowly but steadily, eventually joining the galactic community. Some rare species developed advanced technology rapidly, but typically fell to infighting or resource depletion. Humans appeared to be all of these patterns simultaneously, and none of them entirely. What do our psychological assessment teams recommend? Asked High Arbiter Velnos, a methane-breathing entity whose words arrived through careful chemical translations. Zethkara's crystalline form dimmed slightly. That is the most troubling aspect of this situation, High Arbiter. Our best xenopsychologists cannot reach consensus. Dr. Felthera of the Contemplative Order believes humans are suffering from species-wide psychological trauma that causes erratic behavior. Chief Analyst Morden of the War College argues they represent an evolutionary anomaly that makes them inherently unpredictable and dangerous. Meanwhile, researcher Quill Lena of the Peaceful Sciences Institute suggests they may be the first species to successfully balance competition and cooperation on a planetary scale. The implications hung heavy in the chamber's atmosphere. The Galactic Council's primary function was maintaining stability through careful management of emerging species. They had protocols for aggressive civilizations, procedures for peaceful ones, and contingencies for self-destructive races. But humans seem to require an entirely new category. Have they detected our observation? Inquired the representative from the Void Watchers, a species that preferred to remain anonymous even in official proceedings. Negative, Zethkara confirmed. Their technology remains insufficient to detect our stealth systems. However, their rate of advancement suggests this advantage may not last long. They have progressed from primitive radio communications to interplanetary travel in less than a century. If this acceleration continues, they will develop detection capabilities within the next 50 to 75 standard years. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Most species took millennia to achieve such technological leaps. The Vorthan Collective itself had required nearly 3,000 years to progress from their first radio signals to faster-than-light travel. Granite, who speaks, rumbled again. Then we must act quickly. Either integrate them into our civilization under careful supervision, or implement containment protocols before they become a threat to galactic stability. The question, High Arbiter Velnos interjected, is which approach will be more effective. Our standard integration protocols assume predictable behavior patterns. Our containment systems are designed for species that follow logical expansion strategies. Humans appear to follow neither model. Zethkara manipulated the holographic display one final time, showing a montage of human activities across their planet. Children learning and playing, artists creating beauty from nothing, scientists pursuing knowledge for its own sake, individuals sacrificing everything for abstract concepts like justice and freedom. The images painted a picture of a species driven by motivations that transcended simple survival imperatives. I recommend we establish a monitoring station in their solar system, Zethkara concluded. We need more data before making any definitive decisions. These humans may represent either the greatest opportunity or the greatest threat our galaxy has ever encountered. We cannot afford to guess wrong. The vote was unanimous. Within days, an advanced monitoring station would be established in the asteroid belt of the Sol system, hidden among the space rocks and cosmic debris. What the Galactic Council's finest minds would discover, there would challenge everything they thought they knew about intelligence, civilization, and the nature of consciousness itself. The humans, oblivious to the attention they had attracted, continued their contradictory existence, building and destroying, loving and fighting, reaching for the stars while struggling with their own limitations. Somewhere on Earth, a child looked up at the night sky and dreamed of touching those distant points of light, unaware that those same lights were watching back with equal fascination and growing concern. Dr. Elena Vasquez adjusted the Deep Space Telescope's calibration for the third time that evening, her coffee growing cold as she hunched over the control console. The Atacama Observatory's most advanced instrument had been picking up unusual readings from the asteroid belt for the past 6 months, patterns that didn't match any known celestial phenomena. Still chasing ghosts, Elena. Dr. James Morrison, her research partner, stepped into the observation dome carrying 2 fresh cups of coffee. The British astronomer had worked alongside Elena for over a decade, and he recognized her obsessive focus when she encountered something unexplainable. These aren't ghosts. James, look at this. Elena pulled up the spectral analysis on the main display. The data showed regular electromagnetic pulses emanating from coordinates that should contain nothing but scattered rocks and ice. The frequency patterns are too structured to be natural. They repeat every 14 hours and 23 minutes with micro-variations that suggest active modulation. James studied the readings, his skeptical expression gradually shifting to concern. Could be interference from one of the asteroid mining operations. The Chinese launched 3 new resource scouts last month. I checked. No registered operations within 2 million kilometers of these coordinates. Elena highlighted the problematic area on the solar system map. Whatever is generating these signals, it's not on any official manifest. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert from the observatory's communication system. Dr. Sarah Chen, the observatory director, appeared on the video link from her office in Santiago. Elena, James were receiving priority communications from NASA, ESA, and Roscosmos. They want immediate data sharing on any unusual readings from the outer solar system. Elena and James exchanged glances. When the world's 3 largest space agencies simultaneously requested the same information, it meant something significant was happening. Director Chen, how much can you tell us about why they're asking? Elena inquired. Sarah's expression grew serious. The International Space Station detected several unidentified objects performing impossible maneuvers near Mars' orbit 3 days ago. Objects that appear to be observing our activities rather than following natural trajectories. The space agencies are trying to determine if these sightings are connected to any terrestrial technology. James felt his mouth go dry. Are we talking about what I think we're talking about? We're talking about the possibility that we're not alone, Sarah confirmed, and that whoever else is out there has been watching us for some time. Meanwhile, hidden within a hollowed-out asteroid, researcher Quillena of the Peaceful Sciences Institute monitored 17 different data streams simultaneously. Her species, the Simberi, had evolved from colony organisms, giving her the ability to process multiple information sources without confusion. For 6 months, she had been observing human activities with growing fascination and alarm. The human space station that orbited their homeworld was a marvel of inefficient engineering and stubborn determination. By galactic standards, the structure was primitive, held together with what appeared to be controlled explosions and fierce willpower. Yet somehow the humans had managed to maintain continuous habitation for over 2 decades, conducting experiments that often yielded surprising insights. Quilena's colleague, combat analyst Torvash, had been growing increasingly agitated as their observations continued. The military representative from the hegemony of strength believed that humans posed an existential threat to galactic stability. His species had evolved from apex predators, and his instincts screamed warnings every time he observed human behavior. Look at this latest data, Torvash's gravelly voice echoed through the monitoring station's command center. They have discovered methods to manipulate matter at the quantum level. Their quantum computers represent technology that most species don't develop until they achieve interstellar civilization. Quilena's multiple consciousness streams processed his concern while continuing to monitor human communications. Yet they use this advanced technology primarily for solving mathematical problems and simulating molecular interactions for medical research. Hardly threatening applications. That demonstrates the danger, Torvash insisted. They develop weapons-grade technology and then deliberately choose not to weaponize it. This suggests either incredible strategic deception or complete psychological instability. Both possibilities make them unpredictable and dangerous. The monitoring station's central computer chimed with an incoming priority transmission from the Galactic Council. Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form materialized in the holographic communicator, her usual composed demeanor showing signs of stress. Research Team Sigma-7, we have a developing situation. Human observation capabilities are advancing faster than projected. Their deep space monitoring networks have detected electromagnetic signatures from your position. Quillena felt her multiple consciousness streams synchronize in alarm. Ambassador, we are operating under full stealth protocols. Human technology should not be capable of detecting our presence. That was our assessment as well. However, humans appear to have developed detection methods based on pattern recognition rather than raw sensor capability. They are identifying us through behavioral analysis of signals we believed were completely masked. Torvash's combat instincts flared. This confirms my assessment. They are far more sophisticated than their technological level suggests. I recommend immediate intervention before they develop countermeasures to our stealth systems. Negative, Zethkara replied firmly. The Council has decided to maintain observation protocols. However, we are accelerating our research timeline. You have 60 standard days to compile comprehensive behavioral analysis before the Council votes on permanent human status. Back on Earth, Elena had discovered something that would change humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. By correlating the mysterious signals with gravitational anomalies detected by the LIGO Observatory, She had triangulated the exact position of the hidden monitoring station. "James, you need to see this." She called her colleague over to the main display. "I've been tracking the signal source for 3 weeks now. Look at this orbital pattern." The display showed a trajectory that perfectly matched the movement of the asteroid belt, but with micro-corrections that compensated for gravitational perturbations with impossible precision. No natural object could maintain such a stable position without constant course corrections. "Elena, this suggests active propulsion. Something is maintaining position in the asteroid belt deliberately." James felt the implications washing over him. "We need to inform the space agencies immediately." "Already done. I sent the data to NASA 30 minutes ago." Elena's voice carried a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "But James, there's something else. I've been analyzing the signal patterns and they're not random. They're structured like language." She pulled up the frequency analysis showing regular patterns with variations that resembled syntax and grammar. "Someone is talking out there, and based on the signal strength and duration, they've been talking for a very long time." James stared at the data, his scientific skepticism warring with the evidence before his eyes. "Elena, if you're right, this changes everything. We're not just looking at evidence of extraterrestrial technology. We're looking at evidence of extraterrestrial civilization actively monitoring our planet." "The question is," Elena replied quietly, "what do we do with that knowledge?" Unbeknownst to them, their conversation was being monitored by dozens of alien scientists, military analysts, and diplomatic officials. Every word, every discovery, every human reaction was being recorded and analyzed by minds, struggling to understand a species that seemed to defy every rule of galactic civilization. Humans had detected their watchers through methods no galactic species had ever developed. They had achieved technological breakthroughs that should have taken millennia in mere decades. Most disturbing of all, they showed no signs of the typical responses to discovering they were not alone in the universe. Instead of panic, there was curiosity. Instead of aggression, there was excitement. Instead of fear, there was determination to learn more. In the depths of space, ancient civilizations grappled with the reality that the newcomers might not be the primitives they had assumed. The galaxy was about to be forced to reconsider everything it thought it knew about intelligence, civilization, and the nature of consciousness itself. Captain Lisa Zhang commanded the first truly interstellar human vessel from the bridge of the UES Discovery, humanity's breakthrough achievement in faster-than-light travel. The ship's experimental warp drive hummed with barely contained energy as they approached the coordinates where Elena Vasquez had detected the alien signals 6 months earlier. "Sensor sweep complete. Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Alex Petrov, the ship's science officer, "we're detecting a massive artificial structure embedded within asteroid designation, TK-421. The object is approximately 2 kilometers in length and shows clear signs of advanced technology." Lisa stared at the main view screen, where the alien monitoring station had dropped its stealth systems upon their arrival. The structure was beautiful in its alien design, with crystalline growths and metallic surfaces that seemed to shift and flow like living tissue. After months of speculation and preparation, humanity was about to make first contact with an extraterrestrial civilization. "Communications, open a channel on all frequencies. Let them know we come in peace." "Captain," interrupted Dr. Michael Torres, the expedition's xenobiologist, "we're receiving a transmission. It's in perfect English." The main screen flickered and Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form appeared before them. Her forearms moved in what might have been a gesture of greeting, and her voice carried through the translation matrix with remarkable clarity. "Greetings, humans of the vessel Discovery. I am Ambassador Zethkara of the Galactic Council. We have been observing your species for some time, and we welcome this opportunity for direct communication." Lisa felt her heartbeat accelerate. Everything they had trained for, everything humanity had imagined about first contact was happening right now. "Ambassador Zethkara, I am Captain Lisa Zhang of the United Earthship Discovery. On behalf of humanity, we are honored to meet you and grateful for this opportunity to communicate." "Captain Zhang, before we proceed, there are matters of great importance we must discuss. Your species has demonstrated capabilities and behaviors that concern the galactic community. We must determine whether humanity is ready for integration into our civilization." Dr. Torres leaned forward, his scientific curiosity overriding diplomatic protocol. "Ambassador, you mentioned you've been observing us. For how long?" "Your species has been under observation since you achieved nuclear technology. We have monitoring protocols for all developing civilizations. However, humans have proven to be unlike any species we have previously encountered." Lieutenant Commander Petrov pulled up the sensor readings on his station. "Captain, I'm detecting at least 12 other vessels in the vicinity. We're not just meeting one alien species. This appears to be some kind of gathering." Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been amusement. "Perceptive, Lieutenant Commander. Representatives from 17 galactic civilizations are present to witness this first contact. Your species has generated significant debate within our community." Captain Zhang felt the weight of the moment. Not only was this humanity's first contact with alien life, but apparently, the aliens had been debating humanity's fate for some time. "What kind of debate, Ambassador?" "The fundamental question is whether humans represent an opportunity or a threat to galactic stability. Your technological development rate is unprecedented. Your social behaviors defy our understanding of evolutionary psychology. Most concerning, your species demonstrates capabilities that typically develop only after millions of years of galactic civilization." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Dr. Torres was the first to speak. "What capabilities are you referring to, Ambassador?" "Pattern recognition beyond your technological level, problem solving that transcends logical frameworks, and most significantly, consistent sacrifice of individual welfare for abstract concepts. No other species in galactic history has demonstrated such behaviors during their pre-interstellar phase." Captain Zhang felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. "Ambassador, humans have always strived to be better than our circumstances. We believe that individual sacrifice for the greater good is what makes civilization possible. That belief system is precisely what concerns many of our member species. Rational entities prioritize survival and resource acquisition. Humans regularly risk survival for concepts that provide no evolutionary advantage. This suggests either psychological instability or cognitive processes that operate outside known parameters." Dr. Torres leaned back in his chair, processing the implications. "You're saying that most alien species don't value things like justice, freedom, or helping others?" "Most species value these concepts as they relate to genetic relatives or tribal groups. Humans extend these values to complete strangers and abstract principles. You have individuals who dedicate their entire lives to helping others they will never meet. This behavior is unprecedented in galactic civilization." The view screen split, showing several other alien representatives. A massive insectoid being spoke with clicking mandibles that the translation system rendered as a harsh, militaristic voice. "Humans demonstrate technological advancement coupled with unpredictable decision-making. This combination has historically led to galactic conflicts." Another being, appearing as pure energy contained within an environmental suit, pulsed with different colors as it communicated. "However, human scientific collaboration rates exceed anything in our records. They share information across tribal boundaries and work together on projects that benefit their entire species." Captain Zhang realized she was witnessing a debate that would determine humanity's future. "What are our options, Ambassador Zethkara?" "The Galactic Council must vote on one of 3 classifications for humanity. Integration under supervised development, which would place your species under galactic guidance while you mature. Isolation protocols, which would quarantine your solar system until you develop more predictable behaviors. Or the most serious classification, active containment, which would prevent human expansion beyond your current system by any means necessary." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Lieutenant Commander Petrov was the first to voice what they were all thinking. "The third option sounds like a threat, Ambassador." "It is not a threat, Lieutenant Commander. It is a recognition that some species pose existential risks to galactic civilization. We have encountered species whose expansion led to the destruction of entire sectors. We cannot allow such events to occur again." Dr. Torres studied the alien representatives on the view screen. What would it take for humanity to be classified for integration rather than isolation or containment? Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form pulsed with complex patterns. "That is what we are here to determine. We need to understand whether human unpredictability stems from immaturity that can be guided, or from fundamental cognitive differences that make humans incompatible with galactic civilization." Captain Zhang felt the enormous responsibility settling on her shoulders. She was not just representing her crew or her ship. She was representing the entire human species in a cosmic trial that would determine humanity's fate among the stars. Ambassador, what kind of evaluation are you proposing? A series of scenarios designed to test human decision-making under various circumstances. However, these tests will not be simulations. They will involve real situations where human choices will have genuine consequences for both your species and galactic civilization. The implications were staggering. Humanity was about to face trials that would prove whether they belonged among the stars or whether they were too dangerous to be allowed to expand beyond Earth. How much time do we have to prepare? Captain Zhang asked. No preparation is permitted, Captain. The tests have already begun. Your response to this first contact situation is itself part of the evaluation. Every decision your species makes from this moment forward will be analyzed and judged by the galactic community. Dr. Torres looked around the bridge at his colleagues. Seeing his own mixture of excitement and terror reflected in their faces, humanity had always dreamed of joining a galactic community. They had never imagined that their membership would depend on proving they were worthy of trust by beings whose psychology and motivations they barely understood. What happens if we fail these tests? Lieutenant Commander Petrov asked quietly. Ambassador Zethkara's response chilled the bridge crew to their cores. Then humanity will discover that the galaxy has ways of protecting itself from threats that are far more effective than any weapon your species has yet imagined. The great test had begun, and the future of human civilization hung in the balance. The first test came without warning, 3 days after the initial contact. Captain Zhang was reviewing diplomatic protocols when Lieutenant Commander Petrov's urgent voice crackled through the communication system. Captain, to the bridge immediately. We have an emergency situation developing in the Kepler 438 system. Lisa rushed to the bridge to find the main view screen displaying a star system in chaos. 2 massive fleets faced each other across the void, their weapons charged and ready for battle. The sensor readings showed thousands of ships on each side, representing civilizations with technology far beyond anything humanity had developed. Report, Captain Zhang ordered. Dr. Torres was working frantically at the science station. Captain, we're looking at an imminent conflict between the Kalari hegemony and the Ethereal Collective. According to Ambassador Zethkara, this is a territorial dispute that has been escalating for decades. Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form materialized on the view screen. Captain Zhang, your species is being presented with its first evaluation scenario. Both fleets are prepared to engage in warfare that will likely result in the destruction of inhabited planets and the deaths of billions of sentient beings. What does this have to do with humanity? Captain Zhang asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. The Discovery is the only neutral vessel in the system. Both sides have agreed to accept human mediation in this conflict. Your species has exactly 6 hours to prevent this war or millions will die. How you handle this situation will be carefully observed by all member species of the Galactic Council. Lieutenant Commander Petrov pulled up tactical displays showing the opposing fleets. Captain, we're one small ship facing 2 massive armadas. What could we possibly do to stop them from fighting? Dr. Torres was studying the cultural databases that Ambassador Zethkara had provided. The conflict is over mining rights to a dead system that contains rare elements both species need for their technology. Each side claims historical precedents and both have legitimate arguments according to galactic law. Captain Zhang felt the weight of the impossible situation. Traditional human diplomacy relied on finding common ground and mutual benefit. But how could she apply human methods to alien psychology she barely understood? Ambassador, can you provide more details about the specific issues in dispute? The Kalari claimed the system based on first contact protocols established 12,000 years ago. The Ethereal Collective claims the system based on genetic heritage from a predecessor species that once inhabited the region. Both claims are valid under different sections of galactic law. Previous mediation attempts have failed because no compromise satisfies the legal requirements of both civilizations. Dr. Torres looked up from his research. Captain, I think there might be another approach. What if the solution isn't about who gets the resources, but about how the resources are used? Captain Zhang felt a spark of hope. Explain. Both species need these rare elements for their technology. But what if they need them for the same reason? If we can identify shared technological goals, We might be able to suggest collaborative mining that benefits both civilizations. Ambassador Zethkara's form shimmered with what might have been surprise. Captain, no previous mediation team has suggested resource sharing between competing species. Such arrangements are considered impossible due to trust issues and cultural incompatibility. That's because most species approach this as a zero-sum game, Captain Zhang replied. Humans have learned that the best solutions often involve expanding the possibilities rather than dividing existing resources. She opened communication channels to both fleets. This is Captain Lisa Zhang of the United Earthship Discovery. I request permission to address the commanding officers of both fleets. The view screen split, showing two very different alien commanders. Fleet Commander Kethvar of the Kalari was a towering insectoid being, whose mandibles clicked with agitation. Supreme Coordinator Lethis of the Ethereal Collective appeared as a swirling pattern of energy that pulsed with complex emotions. Honored Commanders, I understand you are prepared to go to war over mining rights to the disputed system. Before you proceed, I would like to propose an alternative that might serve both of your civilizations better than any victory in battle. Commander Kethvar's mandibles clicked aggressively. Human, this conflict involves civilizations that existed before your species developed agriculture. What could you possibly offer that our finest negotiators have not already considered? Commander, sometimes an outside perspective can see solutions that those directly involved might miss. May I ask what specific technology you need these rare elements to develop? Supreme Coordinator Lethis pulsed with skeptical energy patterns. The elements are required for quantum resonance matrices that allow consciousness transfer between energy states. Our civilization depends on this technology for survival. Fleet Commander Kethvar's tone became more aggressive. We require the same elements for quantum computing systems that coordinate our collective intelligence networks. Without these resources, our society will stagnate and eventually collapse. Dr. Torres looked up from his analysis with excitement. Captain, both technologies are based on quantum entanglement principles. If they combined their research, they could develop applications that neither species could achieve alone. Captain Zhang felt pieces of a solution falling into place. Commanders, what if instead of fighting for exclusive access to these resources, you formed a joint research partnership? Your quantum consciousness transfer technology combined with Kalari quantum computing could revolutionize both civilizations. The bridge fell silent as both alien commanders processed this suggestion. Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form pulsed with rapid calculations. Captain Zhang, Commander Kethvar clicked slowly. Joint research would require sharing technological secrets that have been closely guarded for millennia. The security implications are staggering. Moreover, added Supreme Coordinator Lethis, collaboration between our species has never been attempted. Our fundamental nature as energy beings makes us incompatible with Kalari hive mind consciousness. Captain Zhang realized she was encountering the same thinking that had made previous mediation attempts fail. Commanders, has anyone ever tested whether your species are actually incompatible? Or is that simply an assumption based on your differences? Dr. Torres was furiously analyzing the data. Captain, I'm finding interesting parallels. Both species use quantum entanglement for consciousness coordination. The Kalari use it to link individual minds in a collective, while the ethereal collective uses it to maintain coherent consciousness across energy states. The underlying physics are remarkably similar. More than that, Captain Zhang continued, your differences might actually be complementary. Kalari collective processing power combined with ethereal energy. Manipulation could create quantum computing, systems beyond anything either. Species could develop independently, supreme. Coordinator Lethis began pulsing with what the translation system indicated was deep contemplation. The human suggests possibilities we have not considered. Our energy manipulation techniques could enhance Kalari quantum matrices significantly. Fleet Commander Kethvar's mandibles clicked in what might have been agreement. Conversely, our collective processing capabilities could optimize ethereal consciousness, transfer protocols in ways they cannot achieve with individual awareness. Ambassador Zethkara's form brightened considerably. Captain Zhang, you are proposing a solution that has never been attempted in galactic history. Joint technological development between competing species requires levels of trust and cooperation that most civilizations consider impossible. That's because most species think about competition in terms of winning and losing, Captain Zhang replied. Humans have learned that the best competitions are those where everyone wins by achieving something better than any individual could accomplish alone. The two fleet commanders began direct communication with each other for the first time in decades. Their initial exchanges were cautious, but as they discussed the technical possibilities, their hostility gradually transformed into scientific curiosity. 6 hours later, instead of engaging in battle, both fleets established a joint research station in the disputed system. The Kalari and Ethereal Collective signed an unprecedented agreement to share resources and technology in pursuit of scientific advancement that would benefit both civilizations. As the alien fleets began working together, Ambassador Zethkara addressed Captain Zhang privately. Captain, this resolution exceeds all projections. However, I must inform you that this was only the first test. The scenarios will become progressively more challenging, and not all galactic problems can be solved through collaboration. Captain Zhang nodded, understanding that humanity had passed the first trial, but recognizing that greater challenges lay ahead. Ambassador, we understand, but we believe that any problem can be solved if enough intelligent beings work together toward a common goal. That belief system will be tested more severely than you can imagine, Captain. The next scenario involves challenges that have destroyed entire civilizations. As the Discovery prepared to face whatever test came next, the galactic community watched with growing amazement and concern. Humans had just accomplished something that galactic civilization had considered impossible. The question now was whether this was a repeatable success or a unique situation that would not translate to more complex challenges. The second test arrived in the form of a distress signal from the edge of known space. Captain Zhang stared at the sensor readings in disbelief as the Discovery approached the source of the transmission. What they found challenged everything she thought she understood about alien technology and psychology. Captain, Dr. Torres reported from the science station, his voice filled with awe and horror. We're looking at the remnants of an entire civilization, 17 planets, all showing signs of recent habitation, now completely lifeless. The view screen displayed a star system that had become a graveyard. Massive cities on multiple worlds stood empty, their lights still burning but no life signs detected anywhere. Space stations drifted in stable orbits, their systems functioning perfectly but their crews vanished without explanation. Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form materialized with unusual agitation. Captain Zhang, you are witnessing the aftermath of a phenomenon that has plagued the galaxy for over 2 million years. The Nalthara were a peaceful, highly advanced civilization. 3 days ago, they sent out a standard trade communication. 48 hours later, every member of their species simply ceased to exist. Lieutenant Commander Petrov checked and rechecked his instruments. Captain, there are no signs of warfare, disease, or environmental catastrophe. The cities are intact, the technology is still functioning, and there's no evidence of any external threat. It's as if 15 billion beings just vanished. This is the silence, Ambassador Zethkara explained. Every few millennia, entire civilizations disappear without explanation. No trace of what happened to them. No evidence of struggle or evacuation. They simply stop existing. 17 species have been lost to the silence over galactic history. Dr. Torres was analyzing atmospheric readings from the abandoned planets. Ambassador, have there been any patterns in these disappearances? Common factors among the affected civilizations? That is precisely the challenge facing humanity in this test. Dr. Torres, the greatest minds in galactic civilization have studied the silence for 2 million years without identifying any predictable patterns. Some affected species were highly advanced. Others were barely achieving space travel. Some were aggressive and warlike, others were completely peaceful. Some were unified planetary governments. Others were fragmented into competing nations. Captain Zhang felt the implications settling over her like a weight. You're asking us to solve a mystery that galactic civilization hasn't been able to crack in 2 million years? More than that, Captain. We are asking you to solve it before it strikes again. Our analysis suggests that the silence operates on increasingly shorter cycles. The time between disappearances has been decreasing, and our calculations indicate that another civilization will be affected within the next 30 standard days. The bridge crew fell silent as they processed the enormity of the challenge. They were being asked to prevent the complete annihilation of an unknown alien civilization, using nothing but human intuition and methods that had apparently never been tried before. Ambassador, Dr. Torres asked slowly, what approaches have previous investigation teams used? Standard scientific analysis, archaeological studies of the abandoned worlds, pattern recognition algorithms, and comprehensive database searches for common technological or biological factors. All attempts have yielded negative results. Captain Zhang studied the dead worlds on the view screen, feeling pieces of an idea beginning to form. Ambassador, all of those approaches focus on what the disappeared civilizations had in common. What if we're looking at this wrong? What if the key is understanding what makes civilizations immune to the silence? Explain your reasoning, Captain. You said that this phenomenon has been occurring for 2 million years, but galactic civilization still exists. That means most species are not affected by whatever causes the silence. Instead of studying the victims, what if we study the survivors? Lieutenant Commander Petrov looked up from his console with excitement. Captain, that's brilliant. If we can identify what protects most civilizations from this phenomenon, we might be able to determine what makes certain species vulnerable. Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form pulsed with rapid calculations. Captain Zhang, this approach has never been attempted. Previous research teams focused on the affected civilizations because that seemed the most logical source of information. Sometimes the most logical approach isn't the most effective approach, Captain Zhang replied. Dr. Torres, I want you to compile a list of all major galactic civilizations and their key characteristics. Look for factors that might provide protection against whatever causes the silence. As Dr. Torres began his analysis, the Discovery received another priority transmission. The view screen displayed a new alien representative, a being that appeared to be composed of living crystal, similar to Ambassador Zethkara but with darker, more angular formations. Captain Zhang, I am researcher Drakthul of the Deep Analysis Collective. My species has been investigating the silence for over 800,000 years. We have developed theories that may be relevant to your investigation. We welcome any information you can provide. Researcher Drakthul. Our analysis suggests that the silence targets civilizations that reach specific developmental thresholds. However, we have been unable to identify what those thresholds are. Some affected species were technologically primitive, others were highly advanced. Some were socially unified, others were fragmented. The pattern remains elusive. Dr. Torres looked up from his analysis with growing excitement. Captain, I think I might be seeing something. It's not about technological level or social structure. Look at this data. He transferred his findings to the main view screen, showing a complex analysis of galactic civilizations and their key characteristics. Every surviving civilization shares one specific trait. They have all encountered and successfully resolved existential challenges that threaten their entire species. Captain Zhang studied the data. Explain. The Kalari survived the collapse of their original homeworld and successfully relocated their entire civilization. The Ethereal Collective survived the death of their physical forms and successfully transferred their consciousness to energy states. The Vorthan Collective survived a devastating plague that nearly wiped out their species. Every major galactic civilization has a history of overcoming species-threatening disasters. Ambassador Zethkara's form brightened considerably. Dr. Torres, this correlation has never been identified. However, I fail to see how this information helps us prevent future disappearances. Because, Captain Zhang said, understanding flooding through her. The silence isn't something that attacks civilizations from outside. It's something that happens to species that never learn to face existential challenges. They disappear because they never develop the psychological and social mechanisms necessary to survive true crisis. Dr. Torres nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. Look at the disappeared civilizations. The Nalthara lived on 17 worlds with perfect environmental conditions, abundant resources, and no natural predators. They never faced any situation that threatened their survival as a species. That's impossible, researcher Drakthul interjected. Civilizations cannot advance to interstellar travel without overcoming significant challenges. They can if their challenges are always external and technical rather than existential and psychological, Captain Zhang replied. A species can develop advanced technology while living in conditions that never truly threaten their survival or force them to make difficult choices. About their fundamental nature, Lieutenant. Commander Petrov was running calculations on his console. Captain, if this theory is correct, we might be able to predict which civilization will be affected next. We need to identify advanced species that have never faced existential challenges. The analysis revealed a disturbing result. The contemplative order, a peaceful species known for their philosophical achievements and advanced meditation techniques, matched the profile perfectly. They had achieved interstellar travel through purely theoretical research, developed advanced technology through mathematical analysis, and lived in perfect harmony for over 50,000 years. Ambassador Zethkara, Captain Zhang said urgently, we need to contact the contemplative order immediately. If our theory is correct, they are the next target of the silence. Captain, even if your theory is accurate, how does this knowledge prevent the disappearance? You cannot artificially create existential challenges for an entire civilization. Captain Zhang smiled grimly. No, but we can help them understand that they're already facing one. The silence itself is the existential challenge they need to overcome. By recognizing the threat and choosing to fight it, they can develop the psychological resilience that will protect them. As the Discovery raced toward the contemplative order's home system, the galactic community watched with growing amazement. Humans had just proposed a solution to the galaxy's greatest mystery by thinking about it in ways that no other species had ever considered. The question now was whether understanding the silence would be enough to stop it, or whether some mysteries were too fundamental to be solved by even the most innovative thinking. The Discovery arrived at the contemplative order's home system with 18 hours to spare. Captain Zhang stared at the peaceful worlds below, their cities designed as vast gardens where philosophy and meditation had replaced conflict and struggle for 50 millennia. The irony was not lost on her that this perfect civilization might be destroyed by its very perfection. Captain, Dr. Torres reported from the science station, I'm detecting the early stages of the phenomenon. Quantum fluctuations are beginning to appear around the inhabited worlds, similar to the patterns we observed in the Nalthara system. High Contemplator Serenthil appeared on the view screen, his elongated form radiating the serene calm that characterized his species. His large, multifaceted eyes showed no signs of concern despite the dire warnings they had received from the Galactic Council. Captain Zhang, we welcome you to our peaceful domain. However, we must express confusion regarding the urgency of your mission. Our meditation specialists have detected no threats to our civilization, nor do we perceive any reason for the alarm expressed by your species. Captain Zhang felt the weight of an impossible task. How do you convince a species that had never experienced true danger that they were facing extinction? High Contemplator, our research suggests that your civilization is entering a critical phase that requires immediate action. The phenomenon known as the silence target species that have achieved harmony without developing crisis response mechanisms. Captain, we appreciate your concern, but the contemplative order has transcended the need for crisis response through perfect societal balance. We have eliminated conflict, suffering, and uncertainty from our existence. We see no value in artificially creating problems when we have achieved ideal conditions. Lieutenant Commander Petrov was monitoring the quantum fluctuations with growing alarm. Captain, the phenomenon is accelerating. We have less than 12 hours before the effect becomes irreversible. Dr. Torres had been studying the contemplative order's psychology and social structure. Captain, I think I understand the problem. They've never faced a situation where their philosophy couldn't provide an answer. They literally don't have the conceptual framework to understand existential threat. Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form materialized with urgent energy patterns. Captain Zhang, the quantum signatures are reaching critical levels. If the contemplative order cannot be convinced to take action within the next few hours, they will join the 17 species that have been lost to the silence. Captain Zhang made a decision that would either save an entire civilization or prove that some problems were beyond human capability to solve. High Contemplator, I'm requesting permission to visit your world directly. This conversation requires a level of understanding that cannot be achieved through remote communication. Permission granted, Captain. However, we must warn you that our society operates on principles that may be incompatible with your species' more dynamic nature. 3 hours later, Captain Zhang found herself walking through the most beautiful city she had ever seen. Every building was a work of art. Every street was designed for contemplation. and every citizen moved with the perfect grace of beings who had never known urgency or fear. It was paradise, and it was about to be destroyed by its own perfection. High Contemplator Serenthil guided her through gardens where philosophers discussed abstract concepts that had no practical application, where artists created beauty for its own sake, and where scientists pursued knowledge without any concern for its implementation. The contemplative order had achieved something remarkable, a civilization dedicated entirely to the pursuit of wisdom and beauty. High Contemplator, your civilization is magnificent, Captain Zhang said honestly, but that magnificence is precisely what threatens your survival. Explain this paradox, Captain. How can achievement of ideal conditions create danger? Captain Zhang paused beside a fountain where the water sang in harmonious tones. Because survival requires the ability to change, and change requires the experience of challenges that force growth. Your species has achieved perfect stability, but stability without the capacity for adaptation is ultimately fragility. You suggest that our greatest achievement is our greatest weakness? This seems contradictory to logic. Not contradictory, but incomplete. Your species has mastered one aspect of existence, harmony. But existence also requires the ability to respond to chaos, uncertainty, and change. The silence appears to target civilizations that have become too specialized in one mode of being. High Contemplator. Serenthil's multifaceted eyes reflected the dancing light from the fountain as he processed this concept. You are suggesting that we have become so perfectly adapted to harmony that we cannot survive disharmony? Exactly. And the universe occasionally presents challenges that cannot be overcome through contemplation alone. They require action, risk, and the willingness to change fundamental assumptions about reality. As they walked, Captain Zhang noticed something that made her understanding crystallize. Every citizen they passed was engaged in solitary contemplation or peaceful discussion. There were no arguments, no passionate debates, no signs of the creative tension that drove human innovation. High Contemplator, when was the last time someone in your civilization disagreed strongly enough to change another person's mind about something important? The question seemed to perplex Serenthil. We achieved consensus on all matters of importance over 20,000 years ago. Disagreement was eliminated when we perfected our philosophical frameworks. But that means you've also eliminated the mechanism by which minds change and adapt to new information. You've created a civilization that cannot learn anything it doesn't already know. For the first time, Captain Zhang saw something other than serene calm in the High Contemplator's expression. It might have been the beginning of concern or perhaps the first stirring of an emotion his species had forgotten how to feel. Captain Zhang, you are suggesting that our perfection is a form of imperfection? I'm suggesting that perfection in one area creates vulnerability in others. The silence doesn't destroy civilizations through force, it reveals the fatal flaws in societies that have become too rigid to adapt. They were interrupted by urgent communication from the Discovery. Dr. Torres's voice crackled through the emergency communicator. Captain, the quantum fluctuations are reaching critical mass. We have less than 2 hours before the effect becomes irreversible. High Contemplator Serenthil finally showed signs of alarm. Captain, if your assessment is correct, what action do you propose? Our civilization cannot instantly undo 50,000 years of philosophical development. You don't need to undo it, Captain Zhang replied, feeling inspiration strike. You need to expand it. Your species has mastered contemplation, but you've never learned the contemplation of action. You need to debate, argue, and disagree about how to respond to this crisis. You need to rediscover the creative tension that drives growth. But how can we artificially create disagreement when we have achieved perfect understanding? Captain Zhang smiled. By recognizing that perfect understanding is impossible, the fact that you're facing a problem your philosophy cannot solve proves that your understanding is incomplete. That's not a failure, it's an opportunity to grow. What happened next would be remembered in galactic history as the fastest philosophical revolution ever recorded. High Contemplator Serenthil gathered the greatest thinkers of his civilization and presented them with an unprecedented challenge. They had to save their species by admitting their philosophy was flawed. The debates that followed were passionate, urgent, and completely chaotic by contemplative order standards. For the first time in millennia, citizens disagreed with each other, questioned fundamental assumptions, and experienced the discomfort of uncertainty. As the philosophical revolution spread across their worlds, The quantum fluctuations began to stabilize. The silence, which fed on civilizations too rigid to change, found nothing to consume in a society that was rapidly rediscovering its capacity for growth and adaptation. With 1 hour to spare, the threat passed. The contemplative order had survived by learning that true wisdom requires the humility to acknowledge ignorance and the courage to embrace change. High Contemplator Serenthil, now showing signs of exhaustion and exhilaration, addressed Captain Zhang as she prepared to return to the Discovery. "Captain, your species has taught us something we thought impossible. That perfection itself can be imperfect. We are grateful, but we are also deeply disturbed by the implications." "What implications?" Captain Zhang asked. "If the silence targets civilizations that become too specialized, too perfect in one particular way, then humanity itself may be vulnerable. Your species has developed extraordinary adaptability and problem-solving capabilities. But what happens when you encounter a challenge that cannot be solved through adaptation?" Captain Zhang felt a chill run down her spine. The High Contemplator was right. Humanity's greatest strength, their ability to find creative solutions to impossible problems, might also be their greatest vulnerability if they ever faced a situation where no solution existed. The final test came not as a challenge to be solved, but as a revelation that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. Captain Zhang stood before the assembled Galactic Council in the massive chamber that served as the heart of interstellar governance, representing not just humanity, but something far more profound. The chamber contained representatives from thousands of species, each having achieved interstellar travel and proven their worthiness for galactic citizenship. Yet as Captain Zhang looked around at the assembled delegates, she realized they were all variations on the same basic theme: species that had overcome specific challenges to achieve technological advancement and social stability. Captain Zhang, High Arbiter Velnos spoke through the translation matrix. "Your species has exceeded all expectations in the challenges presented. You have demonstrated problem-solving capabilities that surpass anything in our historical records. However, the final determination requires understanding the full implications of human integration into galactic society." Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form pulsed with complex patterns as she addressed the assembly. "The human approach to problem-solving operates outside established frameworks. They consistently achieve results that our most advanced predictive models classify as impossible. This creates a fundamental question. Are humans simply more effective at applying known principles, or do they represent something entirely new?" Dr. Torres, who had been granted permission to address the council, stepped forward. "Honored delegates, I believe the answer lies in understanding what makes human thinking different from galactic norm. We've had the opportunity to study your civilization's approaches to challenges, and we've identified a crucial distinction." The massive chamber fell, silent as thousands of alien minds focused on the human scientists' words. "Every galactic civilization we've encountered follows logical progression from premise to conclusion. You identify problems, analyze parameters, and implement solutions based on systematic reasoning. This approach is remarkably effective and has enabled you to build this incredible galactic community." Dr. Torres paused, gathering his thoughts for what he knew would be a revolutionary statement. "Humans also use logical reasoning, but we combine it with something else. Intuitive leaps that connect seemingly unrelated concepts. We call it creativity, imagination, or inspiration. It's the ability to see solutions that don't follow logically from available information." The chamber erupted in complex harmonies of confusion and disagreement. Counselor Marenthu of the Ethereal Collective pulsed with agitated energy patterns. "Dr. Torres, you are describing random cognitive processes. How can unreasoned thought produce superior results to logical analysis?" "That's exactly the point," Captain Zhang interjected. "It's not unreasoned, it's differently reasoned. Human minds make connections that bypass traditional logical steps. By recognizing patterns at levels below conscious awareness, we solve problems by combining logic with intuition in ways that apparently no other species has developed." The implications began rippling through the assembly as the delegates processed this information. If humans truly operated on cognitive principles unknown to galactic civilization, then their integration would fundamentally alter the nature of the galactic community. High Arbiter Velnos spoke slowly, each word carefully chosen. "Captain Zhang, Are you suggesting that humanity represents a new evolutionary development in intelligence itself? I'm suggesting something more significant than that, Captain Zhang replied. I think we represent what happens when intelligence develops under conditions that require constant adaptation to unpredictable challenges. Earth's history has been marked by dramatic environmental changes, evolutionary pressures, and survival challenges that forced rapid cognitive development. Dr. Torres pulled up holographic displays showing Earth's tumultuous geological and evolutionary history. Most galactic civilizations developed on worlds with stable conditions over millions of years. This stability allowed for the development of logical, systematic thinking that could reliably solve predictable problems. Earth experienced ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic catastrophes, and mass extinctions. Humans evolved under conditions where logical, systematic thinking wasn't enough for survival. We had to develop the ability to make successful decisions with incomplete information under constantly changing circumstances. The chamber fell into unprecedented silence as the full implications became clear. Every galactic civilization had achieved spaceflight by solving the systematic challenges of physics and engineering. They had assumed that intelligence itself was a systematic process. The discovery that intelligence could develop along entirely different lines challenged their fundamental understanding of consciousness. At Ambassador Zethkara's crystalline form began pulsing with rapid calculations. The ramifications are staggering. If human cognitive processes can consistently produce solutions that escape our analytical frameworks, then our entire approach to galactic governance may be incomplete. More than that, Dr. Torres continued, our interaction with your civilizations has already begun changing how you approach problems. The Kalari and Ethereal Collective are now collaborating on projects they would never have considered before meeting us. The Contemplative Order has rediscovered the value of intellectual disagreement. Humanity isn't just joining galactic civilization, we're transforming it. The Great Convergence began in that moment, though none of the delegates fully understood what was happening. Species that had operated on purely logical frameworks for millions of years began experiencing something unprecedented. Curiosity about approaches that didn't follow established patterns. Fleet Commander Kethvar of the Kalari clicked his mandibles in what might have been wonder. Human Captain, your species has demonstrated that solutions can emerge from processes we cannot model or predict. This suggests that our understanding of problem-solving itself has been fundamentally limited. Perhaps, Captain Zhang replied carefully, but that doesn't make your approaches wrong or inferior. It means that different types of intelligence can complement each other in ways that make all of us more capable than any of us could be alone. High Arbiter. Velnos made the decision that would reshape galactic civilization. The Council votes to grant humanity full membership in galactic society. However, this membership comes with unprecedented responsibilities. You will not simply join our civilization, you will help us evolve it. What do you mean? Captain Zhang asked. Human cognitive processes have already solved challenges that stumped galactic civilization for millions of years. Your presence will force every member species to reconsider their fundamental assumptions about intelligence, problem-solving, and the nature of consciousness itself. You are not just new citizens, you are catalysts for the next phase of galactic evolution. As the formal ceremonies concluded and humanity was officially welcomed into the galactic community, Captain Zhang realized that their journey was just beginning. They had not simply proven themselves worthy of joining an existing civilization. They had initiated a transformation that would affect every intelligent species in the galaxy. The echoes of humanity's actions would indeed spread across the stars, but not in the way anyone had expected. Instead of humanity adapting to galactic civilization was adapting to humanity. The rigid frameworks that had governed interstellar society for millions of years were giving way to something more dynamic, more creative and more capable of handling the unknown challenges that lay ahead. Dr. Torres summarized it best in his final report. We came seeking acceptance among the stars and discovered that we were not joining an established order. We were helping to create a new one. The galaxy had been waiting for something it didn't know it needed. The ability to think in ways that transcend the limitations of pure logic. 6 months later, the first Galactic Innovation Council was established, combining human intuitive problem-solving with alien systematic analysis. The Council's first project was ambitious beyond anything previously attempted, designing completely new forms of civilization that could adapt to challenges not yet imagined. The universe, it turned out, was far stranger and more wonderful than any single species could comprehend alone, but together combining logic with intuition, system with creativity, and known principles with inspired leaps of understanding, the expanded galactic community began reaching for possibilities that had once seemed impossible. Humanity had found its place among the stars not by conforming to existing patterns, but by showing that those patterns were just the beginning of what intelligent life could achieve. The greatest adventures were still ahead, and for the first time in galactic history, no one could predict exactly what form those adventures would take. That uncertainty, once a source of fear, had become a source of hope.